Do you think that it's just a quick thought on, do you think it's a function going forward though, that Bitcoin, the incentives will shape the world in that there will be less violence? Like it might be this period we go through, but does it start changing people where it incentivizes less war in your mind?
It incentivizes it for sure, but only if the system fully adopts it.
Mm.
Only if the system fully adopts it and fully embraces it. We have to get to some sort of ceasefire. There have to just be more than one country to say we're going on to a Bitcoin standard. And it's not going to be through coercion. It's not going to be through force. But over time, it's going to allow the settlement system, the payment system, the system of global trade to resettle. Right now, it is built on SWIFT and the dollar and, you know, this euro dollar network and all of these sort of back deal agreements and trades and military and war and oil. Trump's in Saudi Arabia playing golf. No, he's not. Like, he's sending a message to like Israel and Iran. And, you know, anyways, all of this sort of stuff is like, it'll have to be a coordinated collective effort in order for the incentives to truly play out. I believe that Bitcoin is the only thing that can remove us from us, because it's rules without rulers. It's code, it's character. And, you know, as we're seeing in this whole op return war going on right now that I won't speak on. I don't have a strong formulated opinion on that. I heard a wise man always say, two people looking at someone looking at two people arguing in the distance don't know who's the fool and who's right. And so they're both idiots. And so there's an element of me just like staying out of it because I don't know if I'm going to be the fool or the wise person. And so, but even within ourselves and in the Bitcoin network, you can see how pretentious and how visceral we can become and how quickly we can be divided on insignificant or significant topics.
Well said. Very well said. Do you think that, like we saw FTX blow themselves up, we saw Terra Luna, you know, we saw all these other entities over the years, I mean, many over the years, to blow themselves up because they're selling paper Bitcoin and they're trying to play these legacy games. How does Bitcoin change that going forward? I mean, at what point maybe does the market start being educated on, hey, I can't keep doing this because I'm going to get blown up at some point? Or is it just kind of like, we're humans, it's inevitable, someone's always gonna be playing games with Bitcoin?
This is too big to fail. I mean, that's the sad reality of the banks. That's the sad reality of the system that we live in. The natural forest fires aren't allowed to happen, right? The brush just continues to stay there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no merit. We'll just develop a new shoe. Like we know the brush is there, the kindling is there. We'll just develop a new sandal and act like it's not there. Just step on top of it, because ultimately, I think that's where you get the BlackRocks that are too big to fail. This is probably back to my tinfoil hat a little bit on this. When you think about the dollar value of Bitcoin as it relates to the amount of assets that BlackRock has. Mm-hmm. So we're in the hundreds of billions of dollars in terms of the assets that IBIT represents to BlackRock. So the dollar value of Bitcoin, being called away. Well, they have a backstop of a few $100 billion with the United States government, with the Fed, with other people. And so it doesn't really matter to them if it's paper Bitcoin or not, because they know they can represent the dollar liability of their Bitcoin holdings, which, again, Coinbase says that they have. Everyone says that they have. I'm just not sure as to who's selling, because I'm not selling. I know you're not selling. So I'm just looking at how they're gobbling up all this Bitcoin. Who the hell is selling this Bitcoin at these prices? That's what I'm fascinated by. Someone's got to, if you know someone, I would love to get on and talk with someone about this. Look at the analytics to show me at that level and at these volumes and at this run rate moving forward, who's selling all of this Bitcoin.
I couldn't agree more. What's the most interesting? So you did a video the other day about Saylor, the MicroStrategy Bitcoin warning. is now spreading to really the rest of the world. And it's an awesome video. And we'll link to stuff obviously in the show notes so people can check it out. But what's, in saying that, I'd love for you to touch on that. And maybe it is your most interesting story in the world right now. So what is the most interesting thing in Bitcoin or just the world? Because those two worlds are really merging, geopolitics and just legacy finance now converging with Bitcoin. We're at that point in the story. What's the most interesting thing going on right now? And maybe it is the MicroStrategy playbook spreading.
Yeah, Bitcoin is the asset with the most, convexity, with the most, they call this volatility smile. And for companies, I think Fidelity just came out with a report. I think Chris Kuiper, the guy's name at Fidelity, just spoke recently at a conference. But, if you're unable to generate a 65% rate of return at a company, and you're not allocating to Bitcoin, then you have to justify that as the new hurdle rate. And that's spreading quickly. Like I'm seeing all kinds of companies. There was a company, BMGL, that came out today that said they're going to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. I'm like I've never heard of BMGL, right? Thumbs Up Media. The dude came on with a finger thumb the other day. They just went public like 3 weeks ago. They're raising $200 million to buy Bitcoin. And so that is the most interesting thing happening in the world, because if you look at what happened in this last bear market, retail was really the ones that were selling off. These were the people that were just getting into Bitcoin. Maybe they bought it through their broker, through their advisor. Actually, retail has been down since the start of the year in terms of its Bitcoin purchases, but corporates have been the one leading the charge. Like they've picked up where retail left off and some. And so that's going to continue to accelerate, because the biggest arbitrage in finance right now, it's honestly not product innovation. Because when you think about AI and you think about what a company can do with AI, how fast can we create new products? How fast can we go to market with new products? How fast can we make our employees more productive, right? That's kind of leveling the playing field across all of these different companies. The most underutilized asset for a publicly traded company is investor relations. It is the story that you tell around your company. The thing that people are starting to understand about MicroStrategy and even Steak and Shake, right? They're a local Indianapolis company, right? A burger joint. Ain't nobody getting burgers at Steak and Shake. Like I live in Indy and I've been to Steak and Shake like twice, but I'm going to go try, to pay with Lightning.
So true.
I'm going to go hook up my Lightning wallet and see if I can go buy a smash burger with a Bitcoin emblem on there, because they're recognizing that it's not only an avenue for newer customers, it's not only an avenue for a newer market, it's an avenue to increase the multiple and the exit liquidity that you have on the story and the brand of your company. Like that's more important than anything. With Bitcoin, they're tapping into a global brand. They're tapping into a global asset class that, if you have that, access to public markets, I can buy your ticker from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Metaplanet is the best performing stock in the Japanese market. Alex Lizette, our buddy in France, best performing stock on the French stock market, right? And it's like, this was a company that was literally dead in the water. And all they did was integrated Bitcoin into their investor relations and treasury strategy, and it outperformed every other stock on the index. So that's a huge story, because right now, when you're looking for reasons for a person to invest into your company, okay, we're going to integrate AI into our products. Yeah, so is every plumber in America. Give me something else.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.